I'm Matthew Newhall, and this is the Technocrat Live editorial. Today's editorial is on the difference between left and right. First, I need you to understand something about logic. Logical conclusions naturally branch. One answer asks three questions. If you find yourself repeating the same slogans, you probably found a logical dead end. Why does this matter? So, the short answer is the difference between the left and the right is not much for most people. You pick the side that represents the rights you'd like to lose last, and then you attack your other rights using ideas other people have precompiled for you. This is true of many times. Most people pick their favorite rights, the side that most clearly represents them, and shout their slogans. So why bring up this possibly derogatory view of left-right politics? Because the rate of sloganeering has outrun the truth. People shout each other down on behalf of their favorite rights, which can interfere with each other, as rights often do. So, you and I, have a problem. We are too logical for this sort of cheerleading. I recognize this as a ruse and a distraction from early on. When confronted with the slogans, I'd diffuse, redirect, and regather my actual thoughts in private, my pace and with my care. I'd look for the dividing branches, and with enough of them, I grew to realize that these dilemmas were false and unsolvable as presented. And with pattern comes purpose. I realized the actual conversation had been unilaterally, consistently stunted. Had this not happened, in the case where the left and the right had not become a Hegelian nightmare of unchoice, what does an actual left-right conversation look like? I have to credit Jordan Peterson for this concept, though I am going to expand on its core using SIVGene. It comes down to a simple metaphor. What do you do when you are planning to construct something new and you encounter an old fence that's in the way? The right encounters an old fence and says, that fence was built for a reason. We should not remove it. The left encounters an old fence and says, that fence is in the way. Demolish it. It's easy to see how either perspective will be correct sometimes and destructive in others. Simply look at the wings when left to their own devices. The right wing will become completely stationary, allowing no room for technologies to flourish. As new techs are invented, they will simply be disabled or outlawed, so as not to challenge the old access to human rights, with new access to other rights. A full comprehensive stop on technologies stemming from the human right to invention will lead to damaging almost all rights, like property, insight, friendship, and investment, stemming from that vantage point. Economy of scale will be frozen in time and at the mercy of freer societies. On the other hand, the left wing, unchecked, will completely destabilize, first ripping down protections and fences, and eventually ripping down and cannibalizing their own rules. The social fabric will erode, and there will be no priorities except psychopath alternatives to rights. Territory and assignment will ebb and flow without the guiding force of an external source of rights. An example of non-government sourced rights could be a god, SIVGene behavioral pairs, or other immutables and categorical imperatives that people can build their ethical logic around. Seriously, look up categorical imperatives. After this video, it's worth your time. So, while the left and the right may be a simple way for technocrats to express rights trade-offs to the proletariat so that they can choose and vote, neither system is sustainable on its own. For either left or right to exist in a non-destructive way, they need to both be healthy. So how can left versus right remain healthy? It's simple. Portability. You should be able to publicly switch from left to right or right to left without consequence. Further, the Overton window should be as large as possible without total rulelessness. Why? The broadest range of views will encompass the widest variety of human rights compromises, which will create a society that's most ethically adaptive to maximum human rights in the face of new technologies. Look, the concept's simple. You don't know what direction the technologies are going to come from. So you need the broadest view of how group of views of how rights interact with each other. And that's going to give you the best opportunity to come up with something that's fair, sane, and practical. We need progressives on the left to argue for new rights access as new technologies are invented. And we need conservatives on the right pointing out how classical rights can be hurt by the new rights access. This is not to be confused with new rights. Human rights are always there, even if it's not obvious or accessible. Both divine insight or categorical imperatives are going to be inherently old, even if the morals they demonstrate were not previously accessible because the tech just wasn't there yet. The left and the right aren't different. Not really. They are ethical platforms built by technocrats for the proletariats to view technology from. They favor different baskets of your human rights, enjoy them as shortcuts in our busy lives, but do not assign them more than that. It will end in ruin. As an important aside, I mentioned the word of Marx's, the proletariat, as the common person. Marx was correct about the currency, he'd say economic, stratification of humanity, but very wrong about its solutions. His theories have been decimated by centuries of scientific achievement in genetics, psychology, and economics for a start. He predates almost all other modern thinkers we model after. Do not conflate the progressive left with Marxism. It's become just another theocracy with no growing branches, remaining to its logic. At its core, the power differential Marxism describes stems from deception. All the Marxist derivatives think it derives from force and specifically prescribe addressing it with violence. Since warfare hinges on deception, this exacerbates the actual problem of deception. That's where the power differential comes from, is deception. This is a discussion for another video. It's a very deep topic, but I just wanted to make clear that I was not giving a nod to the entirety or some subsection of Marxism other than the stratification, which is absolutely very real and an excellent observation of his. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Until next time, choose wisely, choose to share.